Okay, we got a question from user now. Agile project management in IT agency. I'm struggling to combine PM with Agile in an agency. We get small and big projects with clients, usually for software development, ERP, PIM, e-commerce. Sales and consultant basically does estimations and story points based on broad epic descriptions for the MVP, translates it to hours and thus sells hours to a client. Then a PM gets the MVP description and the sold hours and off you go. For instance, build a commerce shop, connect to their PIM and ERP and do it in 600 hours. The devs, they work agile. They don't want a PM in their neck talking about spending too much hours on this ticket. Agile is for teams and steer themselves. They actually wouldn't need a PM. The PO, on the other hand, sits with the client. But clients usually don't have a PO. They just tell some poor soul, you're the PO for this agency, and they apparently want one from us. But the client talks in hours. They get invoiced in hours. I feel I'm stuck between methodologies. True agile working is, well, not about hours. Have you navigated the situation before, and how you were successful? All right, so first of all, when you say agile, does it mean it's Scrum? Because agile is a concept, right? Where Scrum is an actual framework. So that's the process which actually drives the development, right? So I'm assuming you're talking about Scrum here. Scrum in general doesn't have any long-term estimations or like long-term predictions for the projects. It only has the biggest prediction it has is basically for iteration, right? So what you need to do, and what I think is missing here, is some kind of process which can drive and predict costs for long-term process. And for example, you can use some tool that is called road mapping, right? So creating a roadmap. So when you create a roadmap, you essentially estimate the epics or the features or the projects that you need for long term, right? For example, for a quarter or for a year, right? So create some high-level estimate for the project. Then you put it on a roadmap, and then the teams, they get those projects from the backlog, from this roadmap, and decompose them into stories, and then use Scrum to essentially, implement those stories according to their priorities, right? So they basically plan iterations. They stack this iteration with stories, with the subtasks of these epics, and in this way they implement the feature in the projects. So, and about estimation, so right now you're saying that the estimates are basically provided by sales and consultants. I don't think this is the right thing to do it, right? So when you create a long-term plan and roadmaps, you need to get estimates from developers, first of all, right? They should look at business requirements, provide high-level analysis of them, and then they should provide some kind of vague estimate, whether it's t-shirt size or some high-level mandates or story points, right? How they see it, right? But sales and consultants, I don't think they have enough context and knowledge of technical part to correctly answer those questions, right? So therefore, I think involving developers and tech leads to that process should be essential, right? So, and then when you get those estimates and when you get the priorities from your higher management, then you can create a roadmap which actually maps those projects into a single timeline. And then all of your parties, like business parties and technical parties, can be synchronized and perform the job correctly according to everyone's expectations. That's basically how I see that going.